Why hello, how you doing? We are continuing the Alpha and Omega quests of the endwalker side quests. Yeah, let's get to it. Always insightful, Alpha. Alpha looks back and forth between Omega and Hamza, showing visible concern. Halt, yo, do not proceed beyond the fence. In this body, birds of that size present lethal, unthinkable threats. They will peck my casing apart, searching for meat that does not exist. Conversely, Alpha can correctly identify my absence of nutritional content. If only he would apply that intelligence towards maintaining a regular feeding schedule, poor habits adversely affect his mobility. Going in anywhere. Oh. That. Whoa. Look who it is. I must thank you again for your help in moving our textiles. Recovering from those tragic events has been difficult, of course, but with everyone pulling together, we've managed to get things back up and running. Dijinaba, I come with questions related to that tragedy, specifically your survival of the final days. Although you are similar to Kazal in many respects, he succumbed to the transformation and you did not. Why? What is the critical difference between you and him? What? I'm sure I don't know. I'm not especially brave or courageous, if that's what you're asking. Perhaps being focused on protecting our workshops kept me from spinning into a panic. Still, I imagine Kazo would have been feeling that same sense of responsibility. Perhaps the weight of it all is what invited his demise. You were of the same mind, resolved to the same purpose. Yet your strength of heart, of spirit was not equal. If merely emulating the individual is insufficient, then some other unseen factor must be involved. Not to interrupt these deep philosophical musings, but do you think I could ask you a small favor? There is a man by the name of Navshin who's been helping us out here while he gets back on his feet. I have a feeling he'd benefit from speaking with you. Leave by the eastern exit and you should find him just outside organizing some new inventory items. I can't believe that grants me a better projectile. I don't get it. Oh. Whoops. Okay. Alpha puffs out his chest proudly, seemingly to imply that his Ironworks uniform is the best attire anyone could wear. The equipment being manufactured here, it is worn to perform specific duties, yes? Conceptually, it seems analogous to our practice of switching frames to better serve our mission objectives. I, for example, did not begin existence with the Omega model. I was originally supplied with the standard issue Omicron chassis, serial number MO17. On this world, that alphanumeric combination would be considered my given name. Such designations are drawn from our nearly infinite register of celestial bodies to avoid the possibility of duplication. Furthermore, the cluster known as MO17 is better expressed in your language as the Omega Nebula, the same world I used to introduce myself to your kind. Though you associate Omega with the advanced weapon construct, it is also my name. I see no reason to change it no matter which frame I inhabit. Ooh, he's seen better days. Oh, that's not. This is a quest. Thought that was. Oh, there he is. That's all our orders accounted for, and everything looks to be of good quality. Camilla will be pleased. You were with the Scions. You were there. Yes, I'm sure of it. I'll never forget that day. You and your friends helped us escape when people began changing into beasts. My own son, he was afflicted. Then that huge monstrosity loomed right over him, and I remember my heart turning to ice, freezing in place. The satrap came to my aid, but then he, too, was gone. The memories run together in my mind, like flashes from a nightmare. Only the words of your comrades still ring clear. I repeat them over and over like a mantra as I fled for my life. You must run for their sake and your own. It all seemed so surreal, which was probably what saved me from the transformation. The truth of it didn't begin to sink in until the worst of it was over. I have not the words to describe how I felt then, the sorrow, the overwhelming sense of helplessness. I may still be wallowing in misery if not for my old friends, Jabana. I'd lost my will to work, and he encouraged me with kind words and odd jobs. Now, somehow, I live again. I am thankful to him, to the courageous Anwan, and to you. If you see your comrades, please let them know their efforts were not in vain. You said you lost your will to work. That signifies a cessation of efforts to maintain basic life function, yes? What changed to extract you from that stagnation? An offer of work from Dijivana should mean little to one without the desire to accept it. Was it also matter of mortal instinct, a primal need to survive and thrive? Instinct? No, no, it wasn't that. If anything, my instincts were telling me to lay down and welcome an end to the pain. Every day I think of my boy's final moments. I think of how scared he must have been, how it must have hurt, and I wanted to scream my throat raw. That's the satrap, too, still haunts my dreams. I see him swallowed whole and jolt awake in a cold sweat. But something changed when Jibana came to me. I looked up and saw that, even without my son or Avon, the world around me continued to turn. And because that fact grieved me so, I knew it fell to me to live on and remember them. Strange, isn't it? What drives me to rise in the morning is the very sorrow which once crippled me. Now, I really must return to my work. To lose this job after everything I just said would be a poor jest indeed. May the sisters keep you well. Sorrow, the emotion generated by mortals when their ideals fail to materialize. This I have observed. Yet when I listen to how Nashvin's sorrow served to rescue him from near fatal despondency, his logic eludes me. Am I incapable of perceiving the full measure of the heart's properties? My best projections fail to project our subjects' responses, and despite their almost equal occupational and mental parameters, Jabana and Kazel exhibited different reactions to the dynamis effect. I am no closer to recognizing the pattern for involuntary transformations, and your ephemeral mortal spirits confound me as much, if not more, than they did before. Have you considered that there is no pattern to the people afflicted? No pattern? You imply that transformation was not contingent on individual fortitude, but rather a random contribution of environmental factors? Such a theory would explain the otherwise conflicting data. Very well, I shall accept this as a provisional conclusion to this part of my investigation. I do, however, expect you to continue supplementing my education of heart-related matters. Our next destination will be Camp Broken Glass. I desire elaboration on dealings between the Isbard contingent and the citizens of Garlemald. The reports describe the contingent's purpose as the salvation of the local populace. Furthermore, both factions faced a common enemy in the Teleporter. Why did they not immediately combine forces to their mutual benefit? This inconsistency requires closer examination. Yo, initiate teleportation. Teleportation successful. Evaluating immediate environs. a cold weather region by Etherea's standards, but significantly less extreme than a star with ice planet classification. This body should not be unduly impeded, in contrast to Alpha and his uncontrollable shivering. My frame appears highly resistant to low temperatures. Retrieving data records indicate that remnants of the contingent force and a number of the Imperial citizens yet inhabit this location. We must speak with the representatives from both factions and explore their respective attitudes. Proceed. Yo, come to see how things are progressing, have you? I can't speak for the overall strategy, but communication with the locals has become a damn sight easier since Julius and his soldiers stepped in to help. Oh, we still face our fair share of distrust, of course. Some folk even think we're enslaving minds with our foreign magics. We have Anima to thank for putting that idea in their heads. But all things considered, I'd say we're doing pretty well. Establishing an open dialogue was the first big step. Query: you consider this level of progress acceptable? The reality of your efforts falls far short of the ideal. If your aim is to provide efficient succor to the local populace, then absorbing their numbers into your command structure would be the optimal path. Oh, I wouldn't go that far. We're not looking to take over their nation. If we're to do this the right way, we need to recognize and respect each other's way of life. So while it may not be the easiest solution, I agree with the contingent slow and steady approach. I'm just happy we're saving lives. I'm Alamigan, but I was also an Imperial conscript until not so long ago. Though I was lucky enough to have a decent commanding officer, many Guardians treated provincials like we were less than people. On the other hand, natives of Alamingo didn't think much of us either. I guess that's my roundabout way of saying I'm surprised this contingent was even formed in the first place. I feel fortunate to be a part of it. A shadow from the past. Yes, I know you from Victor's spoils. Have you come to laugh at me? A wretch who's chose to lose Lucina and her sister rather than accept your help. The fool who ended up reliant upon your charity nonetheless. Well, perhaps I deserve your diversion. My compatriots surely scorn my failed conviction. I have shamed my people and brought dishonor upon my nation. I am no better than a kept beast, my pride sold for a bowl of feed. But my soul, nay, that you shall not have. I refuse your honeyed offers of a new home. This land is where I belong, and this is where I shall remain. You demonstrate opposition to the contingent's overtures. On what basis do you refuse cooperation? The data suggests the local populace is struggling to produce the bare minimum of sustenance. Have you some secret strategy for survival? or do your orders compel you to accept your present misfortune? What? Must I be marked by a Magitech touring now? No, I have no secret strategy, no binding orders, but comport myself as any true Guardian Patriot would, uncompromising, unbending. Blast it all. Once again, this insult is unanticipated. Input is unanticipated. Let us move aside and process what we have heard. Accessing and analyzing recorded data. Integration complete. I have evaluated the most recent input and made comparisons to our discoveries in Ratsatan. Consistent only in their inconsistency, the responses from both contingent member and Imperial citizen were highly irrational. Conversely, any Omicron considering their predicaments would have echoed my assessment exactly. The divergence from self-evident logic is key. Hypothesis: the illogical relationship between would-be saviors and suffering populace is another result of an unpredictable nature of mortal hearts. Any probability or ability has inherent advantages and disadvantages. Yet never have I encountered such a unique determinant. It appears that those who share your metaphysical capabilities are prone to complicating simple cognitive processes. An undesirable quality. I will, however, persist in furthering my understanding of the subject. Query. Prior to formulating our next step, I wish to know, who is this Lucina the Imperials mentioned? Acknowledged. To summarize, insufficient data on foreign culture resulted in inadvisable and ultimately fatal action. I witnessed such self-destructive behavior during the course of our planetary conquests. Overwhelmed enemy forces would voluntarily withdraw into perilous regions, leading to a succession of inevitable losses. Tangential data requests. I wish to learn about burial customs. The practice has ever seemed nonsensical, but new data suggests it arises from the same source as your cognitive complications. Take me to this Lucina burial site. It may aid me in understand. Energy delivery systems compromised. Core temperature critically low. Warning: immediate heating required. Request: apply friction to outer frame. Temperature nominal. Energy levels stabilizing. The creators of this model must have experienced impaired cognitive reasoning during the design process. Upon our return, I will request additional climate shielding as well as an accurate temperature sensor array. This will not affect my combat capabilities, but should improve my basic survival rate. Reconfirming sub-destination. In which direction will we find Victor's spoils? Acknowledged. Alpha, you are to remain in close proximity, close enough to envelop me in your feathers. You are permitted to carry me on your back if you so choose. A deceptively deep snow drift almost defeated me, but we have successfully arrived at the location you indicated. Caution advised. An unknown individual appears to be investigating the object of my interest. Hmm? You're Eorzea's champion, aren't you, Yosan? Oh, I never introduced myself, did I? I am Manius, soldier of the First Legion and comrade of Julius. Perhaps you remember me from Tiritium? We spoke about collecting ceruleum and again later on after Lord Quintus had passed. This song for a side quest? Manius, explanation requested. What is the reason for your presence here? That must be the tiniest Magitech weapon. Ah, no, it's just an oddly shaped communicator, isn't it? In any case, I have nothing to worthy to report. I heard that the sisters who used to live in my sector were buried here, so I thought I'd come and pay my respects. Alphinaud and Alize told me the story, complete with profuse apologies, though they were adamant that no amount of remorse could erase the tragedy of what came to pass. Not that my fellow soldiers and I are in any place to judge. We were manipulated, fooled into starting an insurrection which led to countless deaths among our own countrymen. Objection. The casualties incurred throughout your infighting are distinct from those caused by the Ilbard contingent. To restate, you are justified in seeking restitution from the contingent for causing the deaths of Lucina and her sister. Retaliation for damages sustained is also a logical progression. I can deduce two reasons why you do not initiate hostilities with Yo and her allies. One, you judge your remaining forces too weakened to contend effectively with the contingent. Two, your emotions are complicating the issue. Tell me, which of these is correct? Well, when you lay it out like that, um, I'm afraid my answer isn't likely to win me any medals, so would you mind keeping this to yourselves? There's the unspoken thought that we're outmatched on the battlefield, certainly. But the real reason I'm not demanding restitution has little to do with weighing the odds. The simple truth is, I'm so caught up with the full survival that I have no strength to spare for past grievances. The same goes for avenging any comrades we've lost, be that my brothers in arms or Lord Quintus himself. Although it seems everyone has an opinion about the manner of his passing. Some say he should have fought until the end, that he abandoned us to the enemy. Others praise him for taking the full burden of responsibility and freeing us to walk our own path. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but I'm inclined to side with the latter. He gave us the choice of freedom, and that's the choice I made. I could cry and rant and rage, but what would be the point? I'll save my energy for worrying about my next meal, my next task. I need to focus on the ones left behind, on making some kind of life for my comrades and me. And if I need to lean on the contingent to do that, then that's what I'll do. Even if their aid comes at a price, I'm willing to pay it. Even amongst your own, there are times when cooperation demands compromise. What matter that they're outsiders? Besides, I think I could grow to like Alphaneld and Alze. They reached out to us with kindness and compassion from the very beginning. Summation: your desire to survive, even should it mean aligning with the contingent, was a feeling you've already harbored? That your side had committed worse atrocities was the logic you invented later to justify your reasoning. Blunt but accurate, I suppose. The heart is honest about what it wants, even if the mind takes a while to reconcile the decision. Well, this has been oddly cathartic, but I must return to my duties. There are wild beasts to cull, watch fires to light, supplies to transport. Even without an emperor, there's no rest for an imperial. Be well and stay safe. Upon review of recent input, I have arrived at an unexpected conclusion. I have been formulating my assessments on the premise that it was man who commanded the strength of his heart, but the data suggests the opposite is true. The surge of spirit, of feelings, of emotions can entangle your thoughts to such a degree that even control over your own behavior is compromised. It seems the most counterproductive specification. This also explains why my interactions with mortal subjects have produce more confusion than clarification. It presents a formidable barrier to understanding. My earlier hypothesis has been borne out. The suboptimal operation being conducted here is the result of emotionally compromised reasoning. I'm ready to progress to my third and final query. I would learn more about those referred to as ancients. It is clear that this group was a crucial factor of the final days, but the information contained in the report was insufficient to form an overview. The Loporrits are creations of the ancients, and are said to maintain repositories of their knowledge. By my calculations, the base of these moon dwellers will provide the best source of additional data. Teleport us to the burrow, preferably before my battery freezes over. Your teleportation spell was successful. We appear to have arrived at the location described as Best Ways Burrow. As inspection of technology in use here would give me detailed insight into the ancients and their civilization. This body, however, lacks my previous frame's advanced observational functionality. I will require external assistance. No, it can't be. It is you. Oh, yo. I've missed you so. What's this you brought with you? This soft, feathery vision. We've been outfluffed. Pack up the moon. It's all over. Why bother with burrow building bunnies when you could walk around with this adorable avian engineer? Just bake me into a pie and be done with it. Inspect our inventions. Wait, so you're not done with us? Ah, I wasn't really worried, of course, and I certainly wasn't about to roll myself in dough and dive into cooking waste new oven. Ahem. If a technical breakdown is what you need, then I am your Loporrit. As the resident atmospheric regulation expert, I can field any question or query you might care to pose. Acceptable. I will employ the speed to guide me around the facilities. Your presence is not mandatory, even locked within my current chassis. I am still an autonomous construct that has endured hundreds of year life cycles. I am capable of completing the simple objectives alone. Objective complete. What happened to growing way? After my 50th question, his response began to suffer notable delays. By that stage, we had viewed a representative cross-section of Lopera engineering, thus I deemed it unnecessary to retain his company. Conclusion: extrapolating from the fraction of technology on display, the full spectrum of the ancients' advancements was, at minimum, equivalent to a level 4 civilization, a fact which demands further investigation. Despite establishing a neo-ideal society, these beings nevertheless harbored a weakness which invited self-destruction. In studying them, I stand to gain a greater understanding of Seer's anomalous decision. Growing way informed me that another type of ancient mate entity exists upon this satellite, the one they call the Watcher. I would speak to him. Sweet. Then conserve your ether. We will ride this Argos to our destination as you have suggested. Impotence detected. The creature identified as Argos refuses to acknowledge our presence. Hypothesis. Upon your arrival, Growingway expressed concern that he had been outfluffed. This suggests the existence of a fluff-based hierarchy. My station in such a system would be predictably low, but Argos is adamant in ignoring even Alpha. Its fluffiness level is impossible to gauge. Argos turns to you with an impassive gaze. It seems you will need to intervene. You're the fluffiest of them all, dear Argos. Argos gives an exasperated snort before motioning to his back. It seems you have permission to climb aboard. You have secured the creature's permission? Curious, is it your fluffy tail which provides such exemplary standing in their hierarchy? I have allowed myself to become distracted. Let us continue on to the Watcher at once. The Watcher located. An estimate of this being's height explains the inconvenient scale of Bestway's burrow. Actually, yeah, that does explain that. I was bemused by the arrival of these small visitors, but I see they are companions of yours. Yeah. What a rare thing for my abode to be thus crowded. How may I be of service to you? Hello, Watcher. My purpose here is to learn more about the ancients. I would know of their deeds, their philosophies, the very nature of their hearts. I would understand why the final days was visited upon my home star. A worthy endeavor, but there is another better suited to assisting you with that task. Perhaps you might favor us with a tale or two of the ancients you met during your travels, Yo. My fragmented memories would be a pale substitute, indeed, for the clarity of your more recent experiences. Yeah, it would take that long, actually. Yes, I can envision every detail. Your meeting with Venat and Nemexelk, and I thought to lose the sorrow and determination of Hermes. I am a creation of Heidelin, and as such, I believe the age of the ancients would fade and be forgotten. Yet, knowing their memory lives so vividly within you, it brings me great joy. I pray to keep them close to your heart. At the time of your journey to the past, the one whose essence I embody would have been a scholar at Andir. A shame. Had you reason to go there, perhaps you might have met. As a man of learning, he was firm friends with Vanat. They spent long hours trading theories or debating the laws of the universe. I remember joining her faction as the final days bore down upon us. Yet of the events surrounding that tragedy, I recall precious little. Heidelin wished for the people of your age to decide their own path. Thus, I suspected my recollection was limited by design. Yet, even she could not cut away one's persistent memory. I feel most distinctly his sadness at what was to come to pass, that in becoming Heidelin's heart, Benat would forever stand apart from the people she so loved. If she were so resolved in her convictions, then he too would share her sleepless vigil over the future yet to unfold. Thus was the vow he made to Benat as her transformation took hold. His fervent wish must have reached her in some fashion, for though his life was drained away by this summoning, he was reborn with new form and new purpose when I awoke as the Watcher of the Moon. Oh. And you heard, Yo. You felt, you thought, and in seizing the future for yourself, have you brought full circle the saga which Venat began. What you accomplished was no divine miracle. It was but the beacon of hope, passed down from one generation to the next, a succession of wishes and prayers reshaping the star into the world we knew and you deserved. You have our deepest gratitude. I thank you not only as myself, but as the man I once was, on behalf of those who devoted themselves to Vinet's vision. I understand the facts of your story, Yo, but not how you have chosen to process them. On what grounds do you speak of Vinet with such fondness? By sundering the world, she ultimately guided your kind to victory, yet in doing so, caused irreparable damage to its individual members. Oh, 1 second, I'll let my cat out. By sundering the world, she ultimately guided your kind to victory, and remembers the full scale of that act is beyond calculation. It is evident, however, that it resulted in a protracted period of suboptimal existence for himself and his brethren. Query: if the survival of your kind is the deciding factor in your evaluation, then should you not admire Hermes in his decision to subject man to a trial, forcing you to change or perish, as was the fate of countless civilizations before you? From my perspective, his determination was similar to that of the Omicron's ancestors, those who first began trading flesh for machines so that our people might stand against the onslaught of aggression from other races. It was an unprecedented attempt, accompanied by much failure and sacrifice. Their early experiments were crude, primitive. Had they not made those first advances, however, we would have remained vulnerable to our environment. The violence would have utterly consumed us. And what of Emmett Elk himself? Judging by your retelling, he was a benevolent ally saddled with tragic fate. Yet, I remember the years when my instruments fed me data from events across the entire star. During that time, I witnessed his Asians engineer multiple instances of cataclysmic strife. These calamities, as you know them, were responsible for planet-wide destruction. A man whose endgame relied upon the extinction of all modern mortals must, by definition, be your worst enemy. I require an answer. As a being of heart and soul, how do you classify each of these pivotal figures? From your perspective, which one of was most justified in their actions? Fucking Vanat, dude, are you serious? I I think I understand. You seek a definitive answer, yet based on our experiences, Yo and I might develop very different opinions. In the same fashion, you are free to form your own thoughts on the matter. Do not be so swift to consider them without merit. I do not have my own thoughts on the matter. I assess each situation with the same logic pathways available to every Omicron. Even if 1,000 Omicrons were asked to analyze the same event, they would all return the same result. Regardless of individual experience, there is no strength to be found in fractured reasoning. Nonetheless, I find your input valuable, recording data alongside interview results. This concludes my investigation into the incomplete elements of the final day's report. I will reanalyze the accumulated information and examine the factors which led to Sears' incomprehensible decision. Let us return to the museum. It was pleasant to hear your tales of Elpis. Should you ever need audience familiar with the subject, I would be glad to listen more of your recollections. Even with one's gaze fixed upon the future, we oftentimes find our thoughts drifting to the past. 'Tis a shame that Heidelin never chose to speak of it. Hmm. Yo, I wasn't sure you'd be back in time. You had a fruitful trip, I hope. I'm absolutely bursting to ask about your experiences with Omega, but I don't wish to be a pest. I will swallow my questions for now and maintain my academic decorum. Besides, it seems our engineering friends are in a hurry to leave. Do do do. I will be right back. Okay, so we're gonna call the episode here. Finish the Alpha Beta quest next time. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy, have a good day or night, and peace.